a look at the Google Nest Wi-Fi, and more coming up on today's episode of the Latest Tech News. Hey Gadgeteer, you're just in time for the latest episode of the world's only 3-in-1 show on tech, gadgets, and gaming news. That's right, this is the Latest Tech News. My name is Taylor American. If you're new, hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on the latest. We try to do this on the daily around here, at least every weekday. And if you're a long time listener of the show, feel free to share this episode with a friend. We'll be taking a look at a couple of articles today. Obviously not our full lineup, so a little bit of a shorter episode. First up, we'll be taking a look at the Nest Wi-Fi. Yeah, this is actually an interesting gadget worth talking about. It's a smart speaker and a Wi-Fi router. We'll also be taking a look at, well, piranha teeth are even more incredible than we thought, and you're like, well, what does that have to do with tech news? Give me a moment, I'll get to it. And finally, we'll be taking a look at, well, the bots everybody's been wondering about in Fortnite Chapter 2. And at least according to this author, they are awful, but according to me personally, I haven't actually met any bots yet. I really wish I did. Because, like, whenever I run into people, they usually crank 90s on me, and then I'm like, what the heck's going on? I'm, as you can tell, it's too much of a learning curve for me. I'm more comfortable, actually more than comfortable, playing Apex Legends as opposed to, I guess, a Call of Duty style type game, just because it's easier to use. I'd rather just focus on that and skill alone than having to worry about that plus building. Anyways, before we can get into today's show, I need you to hit that subscribe button. Oh, you did? Alright, good on you. Well, share this episode with a friend. With that being said, now I actually get you with this. Oh. It's back! It's back. Today in tech history, being that today is October 16th, 2019. On this day, in 1959, the Control Data Corporation, CDC, not the health people, releases their CDC 1604 computer, the world's fastest computer at the time, and the first commercially successful, fully transistorized computer. And so, a lot to say, but it was all needed to be said because it was quite an important milestone. You see, the 1604 was CDC's first computer, primarily designed by engineer Seymour Cray, who would later go on to found Cray Research and be called the father of the supercomputer. It was actually processing data in real time, controlling weapon systems, solving large-scale scientific problems, and commercial applications. So it was actually kind of a big deal. So with that out of the way, let's head on over to today's feature story. Oh no, why is it? Oh, it's loading. Okay, so for those of you wondering, I had to adjust some of the settings if you're watching via video today to hopefully offset the whole, I guess I've been apparently too bright or light or white. The lights have been too bright is what I'm trying to say, and it's been kind of glaring me in the face for a long time, so I've been editing some things behind the scenes. So hopefully if you're watching on YouTube, which you can do by going to youtube.com/TechNewsGadget, if you'd like to watch the video of today's show, let me know if the changes look good, if I need to change anything moving forward. I think it looks better. I can see definitely more color as opposed to a lot of brightness. So do let me know. So Google's new Wi-Fi router is a smart speaker. Now this article comes to us from The Verge, and the new Nest Wi-Fi from Google does the thing that everybody has been asking for since we first laid eyes on smart speakers. Combine them with mesh Wi-Fi routers. Well, the Nest Wi-Fi will be available this November in the US at various price points, but the pack Google will want you to buy includes one main router and one point that also acts as a smart speaker for $269. Now, both devices are bulbous little cylinders. The router is slightly larger than the points and only comes in white, while the slightly smaller points come in 3 colors. Snow, mist, and sand. Ooh, those colors. They're made of a matte plastic and are about as close to characterless as a Wi-Fi router could possibly get, I guess for just aesthetics. Each point is about the size and shape of one of those scented candle jars, if you want to compare that. which is fitting as the first Google Home was teased for looking like an air freshener, and could very well be confused as one. And yes, we actually have the image of it on the screen that you can look at while you're listening to the show. That's available on YouTube. As a smart speaker, the points also have a lot in common with the new Nest Mini smart speakers also announced today. They share many of the same internal parts, but the Point is slightly taller than a Nest Mini, which means that it has more room inside to create a bigger sound. It's still a single speaker driver. It still won't sound as good as an Amazon Echo or Google Home, but it is just a little bit richer than the typical mini speaker. It also shares the Nest Mini's main party trick. It lights up when you reach for it to show you where the volume and play, pause, touch buttons are, well, areas in this case, on top. But the more interesting light is on the bottom. It projects a ring of white light underneath the Point when it's activated and listening to you, sort of like the running lights on a car. Now, when you flip the switch to disable the microphone, it projects a ring of orange light instead. Fortunately, there is a setting to turn that ring off if you leave your Point muted a lot. Unfortunately, all the settings, including the Wi-Fi settings, will now live inside the Google Home app, which is a virtual labyrinth of nearly every Google and Google Assistant setting you could possibly imagine. One Wi-Fi setting will get slightly easier to control, however, in case you're worried. You'll be able to issue commands by voice to turn Wi-Fi on or off for specific devices or groups. For example, family dinner time, bedtime, things of that nature. But yeah, there you go. But stop me if you've heard this one before. You're putting your Wi-Fi router in the wrong place. It shouldn't be in a closet or under your entertainment center or in a corner somewhere. It should be about waist height, ideally in the center of a room, precisely where nobody wants an ugly router. And now we have this scented candle smart speaker thing to look at. Kind of an interesting combination of technologies, one that you don't necessarily think would, mesh together, but it's actually meshable. Get it? Okay, I've had enough of the jokes. As you can tell, it's been a long day, but yeah, I actually find this quite interesting. Two technologies that you didn't think would actually be compatible together. Going, well, I think they would be compatible together and might actually work out better for each other that way. And boom, you got this. And I know that people are going to have privacy concerns. Yeah, they listen to your conversations in the home, but it's actually getting to the... Okay, for me, this is all I'm going to say on that topic as far as that is concerned. If you want me to go more in depth on it, please let me know, and I'll speak about it elsewhere. But it's almost a little bit ridiculous. How do you expect a smart speaker to work? For crying out loud. Don't listen to me. Well, don't get a smart speaker, stupid. Well, I don't like it, but I need it. How is it supposed to figure out your voice and your vocal patterns and try to interpret what you're wanting to... It's almost like akin to saying, well, I have the keys to my car, but I'm not going to let you drive it. But you can look at it, and it's your car, but it's my car, and I have the keys to it. Well, so then what was the point? It's your car, whoop-de-doo. It's actually... It boggles my mind why it's... As you can tell, I'm a little bit stressed out by it. Why is this such a big deal for privacy setting purposes? Apparently, this is big hubbub in the tech world and in privacy circles and such. I actually think it's a little bit overblown and quite ridiculous, frankly. And the easiest way that you can combat all of this, if you're so concerned, do what the monks did. Live under a rock in the middle of Timbuktu and don't do anything. There you go. Problem solved. Don't buy a smart speaker. Don't put it in your house. Don't sign up for Facebook. Don't use the internet. Don't watch the TV. Don't get the mail. Live on an island somewhere and be a hermit. There you go. Problem solved. You know what? Really not a big deal. If it is, we'll find out later. But I guarantee you it's not going to be a big deal. Ever. In history of ever. So... I don't know who the clowns are dancing around saying this is a big deal, but it's kind of what I think about all of it. So, but yeah, anyways. So if you're interested in the 2-pack of the Nest Wi-Fi, it should be able to provide about the same coverage as the old 3-pack of the Google Wi-Fi, roughly 3,800 square feet. They're also backwards compatible, so if you already use Google Wi-Fi, you can just buy a Point to expand your network. In fact, they should work with any mesh Wi-Fi router that supports the 802.11s standard. So, goes on to then give some pricing. points that are beneficial. It's actually interesting in terms of the pricing points that they're doing to trying to I don't know, be competitively priced and possibly get more market share out of that. If you are interested, the Nest Wi-Fi is launching in the US first, with pre-orders starting today and shipping in November. Other countries will also get it sometime in the next quarter, including the UK, Australia, Canada, Germany, Japan, France, and Singapore. So, awesome. Excited to hear about this tech and how it works, and it could lead to bigger and better things. If there's anything that you would like to add, let me know down in the comments. If you think the rant was worth it, if you want more clarification on it, do let me know. Or if you're listening on the go, we are on Twitter at TechNewsGadget. I swear there's something in my eye. Oh, right. It was. If you wanted to know what it was, you just the joke was lost on you. So, interestingly enough, if you want the articles that we cover in today's show, head on over to TechNewsGadget.net. Now, the latest in tech news, I don't consider it a science show by any means, but there are some, I want to say, some interesting implications into the tech world that can be drawn from this article that we're going to be taking a look at. Namely, piranha teeth are more incredible than we thought initially. Piranha fish are incredible animals that have gotten a lot of bad reputation over the years. Though relatively small, the fish sports jaws, if I can read, with incredibly sharp teeth that they use to tear flesh from bone. Now, in case you're worried, the fish are actually omnivores and not strictly carnivores. Don't often mess with humans, but there's no denying that their fearsome bite makes them a threat, especially if food is scarce and they will eat meat. Now, a new study published in Evolution and Development, so I guess some article or study, online library, journal, publication. There you go. Solved it. Okay, I'm not well versed in that realm, but they reveal that the teeth of various piranha species are even more unique than scientists first realized. It's interesting. The fish, it seems, are basically tiny tooth factories. Piranha teeth are special for a few different reasons, including the fact that they are interlocked. The teeth on either side of their mouth operate like a single unit, distributing the impact of a bite across multiple points. This works well for the fish, but it also means that damage to the teeth can only be fixed by replacing an entire set at once. Using a CT scan to grow some piranha specimens, the researchers discovered that this is exactly what the animals do, growing in entire rows of replacement teeth simultaneously. The quirk here is that the fish only seem to grow in these replacement teeth on one side at a time, with the top and bottom rows on one half of their face, however you want to describe it, appearing before the growth begins on the other side. The teeth form a solid battery that is locked together, and they are all lost at once on one side of the face, according to the senior author of the study. The new teeth wear the old ones as hats until they are ready to erupt. So piranhas are essentially never toothless, even though they are constantly replacing dull teeth with brand new sharp ones. The good news is that piranha attacks on humans are incredibly rare, so we can admire this wild teeth recycling ability without worrying that we'll be the next meal. But what does this mean for technology? I don't know. It's definitely something interesting to think about. And here's where I'm going to tie it into you guys wondering, well, this isn't a science show. This is a tech show where you cover tech, gadgets, and gaming news. What does this have to do with it? Well, think of it this way. Every single design and gadget and game and feature and anything technological has come because we've studied the animal kingdom and outer space and the depths of our own mind to come up with an idea that it for the most part already exists and seems to be working, a system, a process, something that seems to be existing currently in our world and is testable and repeatable enough to the point that while it can be turned into a gadget, it can be turned into a game of sorts, it can be turned into some facet of technology. You know, this whole quantum computers thing that's going on, as much as you might think it's scientific, and it is to a certain extent, it's responsible for a lot of technological breakthroughs. And as far as technological breakthroughs are concerned, well, Remember how we're doing this today in tech history? We're always looking back on what happened like 50, 75, 100, 150 years ago. 150 is a bit pushing it. 100 years guaranteed pushing it too. But you look at this and you go, you know, if you think about it, how we've started out with abacus and these big, huge rooms of computers, and they could do so little, and now we have a phone with more power than it was ever available X number of years ago. Technology advancements are quite incredible, but a lot of them are based off of, you know, studies and researching and looking at how the world works, and then taking that idea and turning it into a piece of technology. So with that being said, I'm not quite sure how this will be developed into possibly something technological in the future, but I guarantee it will be included at some point, to which I will then say, if I'm alive at that time, and you're listening to this article or this story show episode, I'll say, told you so. This is where it all got its start from, studying piranha teeth. Interesting, right? I know, but you know, I don't know. I'm a sucker for a good science article every so often. It's kind of why I feature sometimes outer space articles from time to time, even though it might seem sci-fi or spaced out, dude. Well, I like covering those kind of articles from time to time. All right, now the last article I got for you guys. Yes, I've played the new Fortnite game. The black hole, turns out, well, something happened. They had to call in the 7, whoever those individuals were, to restore the timeline planet or something. It's really interesting. And so essentially the map blew up, and we now have a completely entirely new map. And everybody's back online. We're all playing okay. There are still some bugs that are being sorted out, but speaking of bugs, yes. Remember when I was talking about bots being added to Fortnite and we looked at it a little bit? Well, they're here in Fortnite Chapter 2, and they are awful, at least according to this author. I actually find it kind of entertaining. My wife, for one, and she can't say if she was playing against a bot or maybe just another player, but the second game she played in Fortnite, she got second place and was quite ecstatic about that. You see, that never happens in this household. We never have the tolerance to play Fortnite long enough to get to that stage, much less ever even think of reaching second place. I mean, usually I have to go in a squad or in an LTM game mode just to get the satisfaction of a victory royale, or getting somewhat close, or possibly a victory royale because your team carried you there because they're obviously better players than me and my wife. But she was quite excited to hit second place in a solo match, which was quite impressive. It might have been due to bots, but oh, I gotta get into this article. If you've been playing Battle Royale games, the newly released chapter of Fortnite, well, you might have noticed some really awful players. Turns out, it's not just players anymore, it's actually bots. Epic Games announced the addition of bots several weeks ahead of the actual release of Chapter 2, so you may have forgotten about their plans, so I'm here just as a reminder. Since Epic Games didn't release patch notes with the release of what's essentially Season 11, you may not officially have known that bots are now in the game. So, yes, there are bots. Are the bots any good? Well, the answer to that is no. But as of now, the bots can't use vehicles and can't crank 90s, but long term we're looking to see how far we can push our bots. And if you played any games so far, you might have run across a couple of bots that aren't good at picking fights either. Now, this is where it gets good. We have some Reddit videos, some Twitter videos about bots. Actually, let's watch one of them. Let's see, hang on. Okay, so this individual is running around gathering material when they come across a player, except it's not a player. They looked right at him, and they turned around, and they're harvesting now. Like, they just completely went, oh, it's a player, well, what am I supposed to do? It's like they don't even know, so... you just don't even know. Sorry, I'm getting all choked up. It's actually quite entertaining. How do I pause it? There. There are also several other videos like this on social media, such as another funny clip I won't be playing for you. But what's next for bots? Well, as mentioned, it sounds like developers are working on making bots better in the future. So obviously with the feedback, being that they're new right now, progress will be made as the season advances. It's probably a good thing the bots are as bad as they are. Could you imagine if they're actually good and cranking 90s and mowing you down? You would probably be flipping a lid. I know some of you are already flipping a lid saying, "This is the end of Fortnite. I've predicted it. This new season 11 is the worst thing of all time. It's so horrible. I'm just gonna blow the game up. You should have just blown the game up and been done over with it. It's so fake. I don't even want it." Don't play the game. Go play something else that you actually enjoy, for crying out loud. But yeah, it'd be nice if the bots were a little more aware of their surroundings. So if you are interested in climbing the elims and feeling good about getting better or more kills, get your easy limbs in now while the bots are still, quote, trash. But they might just listen to Ninja and get good. So keep an eye on that. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that bots are in the game, but we'll see as time progresses how that actually develops. I like the changes that Fortnite makes to the game. It keeps it fresh, lively, and interesting, regardless of whoever complains or whines or moans and groans. It just is. So I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I probably shouldn't have to say anything further on it, and as a matter of fact, I probably won't, because I'm running over time a little bit. With that being said, that wraps up this episode of the Latest Tech News. Thanks for tuning in. New episodes every weekday. The Latest Tech News can be found on every major platform, including Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Stitcher, Overcast, and more. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, it's important to let us know by clicking that like button and by leaving a comment if you're watching via YouTube. Also, double check that you're subscribed so that you don't miss the next episode. And if you're a long-time listener, be sure to share this episode with a friend. I'm your host, Taylor Merrick, and remember, for the latest in tech, gadget, and gaming news, visit TechNewsGadget.net. Pretty much keep being awesome, guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.